The ancient warning. The crimson light of 3 suns bathed the command deck of the Valdorian flagship Eternal Conquest as it drifted through the void between stars. Commander Zephyros stood before the massive viewing portal, his 6 arms crossed, behind his back, watching the hypnotic dance of cosmic dust clouds that marked the edge of unexplored space. His metallic blue skin reflected the bridge lights as he contemplated the Empire's next conquest. The Valdorian Empire had grown mighty over the past millennium, consuming worlds like a hungry beast. Their technology was unmatched, their military discipline absolute, and their hunger for expansion endless. Zephyros had personally overseen the subjugation of 17 star systems, each conquest adding to the Empire's vast collection of slave worlds and resource extraction sites. "Commander," called Navigator Thylix from her station, her voice carrying the musical tone common to all Valdorians. "We have reached the coordinates specified by the High Command. The target system lies directly ahead." Zephyros turned from the viewport and moved to the central command platform with fluid grace. The bridge around him hummed with the activity of dozens of crew members, each one bred and trained for their specific role in the Empire's war machine. Holographic displays showed star charts, tactical readouts, and resource assessments that painted a picture of easy victory. "Display the target world," Zephyros commanded. The main screen flickered to life, showing a small blue and green planet orbiting a yellow star. It looked peaceful, almost insignificant compared to the industrial worlds that formed the backbone of the Valdorian Empire. White clouds swirled across continents of brown and green, while vast oceans reflected sunlight like scattered diamonds. Preliminary. "Scans indicate a primitive civilization," reported Science Officer Malthos, consulting his instruments with practiced efficiency. "They have achieved basic spaceflight, but have not yet established permanent colonies beyond their home world. Their technology appears to be based on chemical propulsion and nuclear energy. Most curious, they seem to have divided their world into competing nation-states rather than unifying under a single government." Zephyros studied the data with growing confidence. This would be one of the easiest conquests in his long career. The inhabitants of this world, which their databases identified as Earth, appeared to be fighting among themselves instead of preparing for external threats. Their weapons were primitive projectile systems and chemical explosives. Their fastest ships took months to reach their own moon. "Estimated time for complete subjugation?" Zephyros asked. "Based on similar primitive worlds, no more than 3 standard days," Malthos replied. "Their population of approximately 7 billion could provide excellent labor for our mining operations, while their planet's natural resources would fuel our expansion for decades." As the fleet moved closer to the target system, the ship's sensors detected something unexpected. A faint energy signature was emanating from a small asteroid field near the 4th planet from the star. The signature was old, far older than anything the Valdorians had encountered in this region of space. "Commander, we have discovered an artificial structure," announced sensor operator Kelthos. "It appears to be some kind of beacon or monument, constructed from materials not found in this system." Zephyros felt a flicker of curiosity. Ancient artifacts were always valuable, either as technology to be reverse-engineered or as historical relics to be sold to collectors throughout the Empire. "Bring us within scanning range. I want a full archaeological survey." The Eternal Conquest. Altered course, its massive bulk moving with surprising grace toward the mysterious structure. As they drew closer, the beacon's true nature became apparent. It was a crystalline obelisk, nearly a kilometer tall, covered in symbols and script that predated any known civilization in this galaxy. "The construction techniques are unlike anything in our databases," Malthos reported with growing excitement. "The material appears to be some form of quantum-locked crystal that should be impossible to create with any known technology. Commander, this could be a relic of the Chronari." Zephyros felt his heart skip a beat. The Chronari were legendary, a civilization that had supposedly existed millions of years before the rise of the Valdorian Empire. Most scholars dismissed them as myth, but if this beacon was truly Chronari in origin, it represented a discovery that could reshape their understanding of galactic history. "Can we access any data from the structure?" A Attempting now, Commander. The beacon appears to be responding to our presence. It's activating some kind of communication protocol. The bridge fell silent as the ancient structure began to glow with inner light. Patterns of energy raced across its surface like living things, and suddenly the air itself seemed to vibrate with power. Then, without warning, a holographic image appeared in the center of the command deck. The figure was humanoid, but clearly not human. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, with elongated limbs and a head that bore 6 eyes arranged in a perfect circle. Its skin appeared to be made of the same crystalline material as the beacon, and when it spoke, its voice carried the weight of countless ages. "Greetings, travelers from the stars," the figure said, its words somehow translated directly into Valdorian language. "I am Keeper Zendaloth of the Chronari Archives. If you are receiving this message, you have discovered our warning beacon placed in this system long ago. Know that the world you see before you, the third planet from this star, harbors a species that must not be underestimated." Zephyros exchanged glances with his officers. A warning about the primitive inhabitants of Earth? It seemed absurd. The holographic Chronari continued speaking. "We have observed this species across millennia, watching as they evolved from simple tool users to a civilization capable of splitting the atom and reaching beyond their world. They call themselves humans, and they possess something we have rarely encountered in our travels across the cosmos. What could these primitives possibly possess that would concern the Chronari?" muttered Thylix. As if responding to her question, the hologram raised one crystalline hand. "They possess an indomitable will to survive and adapt. When faced with extinction, they do not surrender or accept defeat. Instead, they transform themselves into something greater. We have watched them endure ice ages that should have ended. Their species survived plagues that killed millions and emerged stronger from wars that devastated their world." The image shifted to show scenes of human history, moments of crisis and triumph that the Chronari had somehow recorded. Humans building great cities from the ashes of destroyed ones. Humans crossing vast oceans in wooden ships to find new lands. Humans splitting atoms and walking on their moon despite having technology that seemed impossibly primitive. Most remarkable of all, the Chronari continued, is their capacity to learn and improve at rates that defy logic. They do not simply adopt new technology. They transform it into something better suited to their needs. They do not simply learn from their enemies. They become superior to those who sought to destroy them. Zephyros felt a chill run through his body despite the warm air of the bridge. The hologram's next words seemed to be directed specifically at him. "To any who would conquer these humans, we offer this warning. They will not submit easily, and they will not remain conquered long. Attack them only if you are prepared to face consequences beyond your imagination. They will take your technology and make it their own. They will learn your tactics and devise counters you cannot anticipate. Most dangerous of all, they will inspire others to resist, for their spirit of rebellion is as contagious as it is unstoppable." The holographic figure began to fade as the beacon's energy signatures weakened. "We, the Chronari, who conquered 1,000 worlds and ruled for 10 million years, chose not to disturb these humans. We advise the same wisdom to all who follow. This is our final warning." The image disappeared, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. The beacon itself went dark, apparently having exhausted its power reserves after eons of waiting for someone to receive its message. "Commander," Malthus said hesitantly, "perhaps we should reconsider our approach to this world. The Chronari were not known for exaggeration or fear." Zephyros turned away from the now dark beacon and studied the peaceful blue world that hung in the darkness ahead of them. The warning echoed in his mind, but his pride as a Valdorian commander warred with the ancient advice. He had conquered 17 worlds. His fleet carried weapons that could crack planets and shields that could stop stars. What could one primitive world do against the might of the Valdorian Empire? "The Chronari have been extinct for millions of years," he said finally. "Their warning comes from a time when the galaxy was young and their technology was primitive compared to ours. These humans have chemical rockets and metal projectiles. We have plasma cannons and quantum shields. The comparison is meaningless." He gestured to the tactical display showing his fleet of 300 warships, each one capable of devastating a continent. Signal the fleet to assume attack formation. We proceed with the original plan. 3 days from now, Earth will be another jewel in the Valdorian crown. Deep in the ship's archives, the recorded warning of Keeper Zendaloth was filed away with thousands of other historical curiosities. None of the Valdorians noticed that their sensors had detected something else during their approach to Earth. Hidden communication networks had already detected their presence, and across the human homeworld, ancient protocols were quietly activating. Humanity was about to face its greatest test, but they would not face it unprepared. The stage was set for a confrontation that would reshape the galaxy, though none aboard the Valdorian fleet yet understood the magnitude of what they had chosen to unleash. The Awakening. The first plasma bolt struck the International Space Station at exactly 1432 Universal Time, vaporizing humanity's greatest achievement in space in a flash of superheated gas. The explosion was visible from Earth as a brilliant star that burned for 3 seconds before fading into memory. Within minutes, similar lights bloomed across the sky as satellites, research stations, and orbital platforms were systematically destroyed. Commander Zephyros watched the destruction from his flagship's bridge with satisfaction. The opening phase of the invasion was proceeding exactly according to plan. Earth's primitive defensive systems had been eliminated before they could even attempt to respond. Now came the demonstration of power that would break the humans' will to resist. Target their primary military installations, Zephyros ordered. Show them the futility of resistance. The Valdorian fleet spread across Earth's sky like a swarm of metal locusts, their hulls gleaming with the reflected light of their own weapons. 300 warships, each one larger than the humans' biggest city, unleashed destruction with surgical precision. Military bases erupted in columns of fire. Government buildings melted like candles. Communication centers went silent one by one. On Earth's surface, humanity experienced its first taste of interstellar warfare. President Maria Santos stood in the emergency command bunker deep beneath Washington, D.C., watching displays that showed the systematic destruction of everything she had sworn to protect. The initial shock had worn off, replaced by a cold determination that surprised even her closest advisors. "Casualty reports?" she asked. 17 military installations destroyed, 12 major cities partially damaged, communication networks down across 3 continents, reported General Harrison Webb, his voice steady despite the magnitude of the crisis. "They're targeting our ability to coordinate a response, but they're avoiding major population centers. It's as if they want us alive." "They want us as slaves," Santos replied grimly. "How long before they demand our surrender?" The answer came within the hour. Every remaining communication device on Earth suddenly activated simultaneously, broadcasting the same message in dozens of human languages. Commander Zephyros's image appeared on screens worldwide, his metallic blue features radiating confidence and authority. "People of Earth," his translated voice echoed across a planet in crisis. "I am Commander Zephyros of the Valdorian Empire. You have witnessed a demonstration of our power. Your defenses have been eliminated. Your governments rendered helpless. You will now cease all resistance and prepare for integration into our empire. Those who cooperate will be treated fairly. Those who resist will be eliminated." The transmission ended, leaving Earth in stunned silence. For several minutes, the planet seemed to hold its breath. Then humanity did something that caught the Valdorians completely off guard. They got angry. The response began in a small town, in Montana, where retired Marine Sergeant Jack Morrison looked at his destroyed television set and said 5 words that would echo across the galaxy. "Like hell we will, alien." Within hours, similar sentiments were being expressed in every language on Earth. Instead of surrender, the aliens had triggered humanity's most dangerous instinct, the refusal to submit to tyranny. Across the planet, people who had never agreed on anything suddenly found common cause. Dr. Elena Vasquez was analyzing fragments of alien technology that had fallen from destroyed ships when she made the first breakthrough. Working in a makeshift laboratory in the ruins of CERN, she discovered something that changed everything. The alien plasma weapons operate on a completely different principle than our understanding of physics would suggest, she explained to a hastily assembled team of scientists via encrypted communication. But the underlying energy matrices follow patterns we can decode. More importantly, their technology is standardized across their entire fleet. They build everything the same way. What does that mean for us? Asked Dr. James Chen, broadcasting from a hidden facility in Tokyo. It means they're predictable, Vasquez replied with growing excitement. They've been using the same basic designs for so long that they've forgotten how to innovate. We can learn to counter their weapons because they'll never think to modify them. While scientists work to understand alien technology, military leaders were discovering that humanity's greatest advantage wasn't their weapons or their science. It was their ability to think like nothing else in the galaxy. Colonel Sarah Mitchell had been a Special Forces operative before the invasion. Now she found herself leading a resistance cell that operated out of the Denver sewer system. Her team had captured their first intact alien scout ship 3 days after the initial attack, and what they found inside revolutionized their understanding of their enemies. They're not soldiers like us, she reported to resistance leaders worldwide. They're more like technicians who happen to carry weapons. They follow predetermined tactics and never deviate from their programming. When we do something unexpected, they freeze up while they try to process what's happening. Mitchell's observation proved accurate when her team ambushed a Valdorian patrol using tactics no military academy had ever taught. Instead of confronting the aliens directly, they led them into a maze of subway tunnels filled with improvised traps. Construction equipment became weapons. Civilian vehicles became mobile missile platforms. Even children's toys were turned into surveillance devices and communication relays. The Valdorian patrol, trained to fight other organized military forces, found themselves helpless against an enemy that refused to follow any rules of warfare they understood. Commander Zephyros received increasingly disturbing reports from his ground forces. "Sir, the humans are using asymmetric warfare tactics we have never encountered," reported Ground Commander Veltar. "They attack our supply lines with vehicles designed for agriculture. They use their own infrastructure as weapons against us. When we adapt to one tactic, they immediately switch to something completely different." "How many casualties have we sustained?" Zephyros asked, though he dreaded the answer. 47 ships damaged, 12 destroyed, and over 300 ground troops missing or confirmed dead. The humans are learning, sir. They study every piece of our technology they capture and somehow make improvements to it. This last observation proved to be the most ominous. In hidden laboratories around the world, human scientists and engineers were performing miracles of reverse engineering. Dr. Vasquez had been joined by brilliant minds from every nation, all working together with a focus that transcended all previous human cooperation. "Look at this," she showed her team, holding up a modified alien plasma rifle. "They build their weapons to last for centuries without maintenance, but that makes them over-engineered and inefficient. We've stripped out the redundant systems and boosted the power output by 40%. The modified weapon in her hands looked like something from a fever dream. Alien technology merged with human engineering in ways that violated every design principle the Valdorians had ever learned. It was ugly, dangerous, and absolutely devastating. "How many can we produce?" asked General Webb, who had arrived to inspect the underground facility. "We're setting up production lines in every major city still under our control," Vasquez replied. "But the real breakthrough isn't the weapons, General. It's what we've learned about their shields." She activated a holographic display showing the energy patterns of Valdorian defensive systems. Their shields are designed to stop specific types of energy and projectiles, but they never considered that someone might attack them with modified versions of their own weapons. "We can punch right through their defenses." The first human counterattack came 6 days after the initial invasion. Valdorian ships were conducting routine patrols over major cities when the impossible happened. Weapons fire erupted from the surface, but it wasn't the primitive projectiles they expected. Instead, they found themselves under attack from modified versions of their own plasma cannons firing from positions that shouldn't have been able to threaten spacecraft. Commander Zephyros watched in disbelief as 3 of his ships fell burning from Earth's sky. How are they generating that much power? Their infrastructure was destroyed. The answer was typically human. Unable to power the alien weapons with conventional means, human engineers had created hybrid power systems that combined alien technology with everything from nuclear reactors to solar panels to hydroelectric dams. The weapons were loud, inefficient, and completely unpredictable, but they worked. More disturbing were reports from the occupied zones. Instead of submitting to Valdorian rule, humans were disappearing into underground networks that seemed to span entire continents. They emerged to strike at supply convoys, disappeared before retaliation could arrive, and somehow always seemed to know exactly where the aliens would be most vulnerable. "They're fighting like a single organism," reported intelligence officer Mex Thule. "Individual cells operate independently, but they share information instantaneously across their entire network. When one group learns something useful, every other group knows it within hours." What the Valdorians couldn't understand was that they were witnessing the emergence of something new in the galaxy. Humanity wasn't just resisting conquest. They were evolving in real time. Every battle taught them something new. Every captured piece of technology was immediately improved and mass-produced. Every tactical defeat became the foundation for future victory. The transformation was most visible in space, where human pilots had begun flying captured Valdorian fighters. But these weren't the same ships the aliens had built. Human modifications had turned elegant, efficient alien designs into something that resembled controlled chaos. "They're flying ships that should be impossible to control," reported Flight Commander Kordak after surviving an encounter with human pilots. "They've removed all the safety systems and stability controls. The ships are faster and more maneuverable than anything we've ever seen, but they should kill their own pilots with the acceleration forces." What the aliens didn't realize was that humans had also modified themselves. Using captured medical technology, human pilots were being enhanced with alien biotechnology that allowed them to survive maneuvers that would kill unmodified humans. They were becoming something new, something adapted specifically for war against the Valdorian Empire. The war's turning point came when a human strike team led by Colonel Mitchell captured Commander Zephyros himself. The raid on his flagship was impossible by every military doctrine the Valdorians knew. The humans had somehow infiltrated a heavily defended warship, disabled its security systems using its own technology against it, and escaped with the fleet commander as their prisoner. Sitting in a human detention facility built from modified alien equipment, Zephyros finally understood the truth of the ancient Chronari warning. The humans hadn't just resisted conquest, they had transformed themselves into something the galaxy had never seen before. They were no longer the primitive species his scouts had observed. They were becoming something new, something dangerous, something that would reshape the balance of power across the stars. As news of humanity's victories spread through subspace communications, something unprecedented began happening throughout the Valdorian Empire. On dozens of conquered worlds, enslaved species that had accepted their fate for centuries suddenly began to whisper about the impossible, successful resistance against Valdorian might. The humans had done more than defend their world. They had lit a fire that would burn across the galaxy, and every tyrant in the cosmos would soon learn what it meant to awaken humanity's true nature.